Here's the rubber part that goes up on here. I pulled it away because this is the plastic. You can see all my pieces right here. That just brittle, broke into a lot of pieces. Welcome back, folks. Right where we left off before. This is going to have to sit on the bench a while. Obviously, got to order parts. They got to come in, and I haven't figured out this bottom bearing. I shouldn't even talk about it anymore. We're going to get back to the steering column. Be patient. But real quick, I was thinking about some tools. My wife asked me to work on something this weekend. I know this isn't related to 1967 to 72s, but neat toolkit. You can buy these relatively cheap. This is all the stuff that you can't work on. These are individual security type bits. And there's some that have like the hole in the middle, the 2-prong, a 3-prong, a 4 wedge. There's a bunch of stuff that you run into in life that you can't work on because you don't have the right adapter. So you can get this kit for less than 20 bucks. You know me, and 20 bucks. Very useful kit. I bought the one in the rubber case, keeps it clean. I can see it easily. I don't use it every day. Super handy on newer vehicles or household items. Just thought I'd mention it. I always like to do a little tidbit if I can. I know I forget a lot of times. But we're going to get back to this. Today we got something more exciting, working on a 1972 C20 in Avalon Green. We're going to take apart the inner heater box, air conditioning / heater box. There's a lot to it. It's underneath the dash, obviously, so it's super hard to get camera angles, but I want to show you a few things that become difficult. It's all difficult, I ain't gonna lie. But it's kind of fun, and there's definitely a problem, so I like to be able to fix problems. I created a problem. Yeah, do no harm. Well, I did a little harm. Maybe I can fix it. Maybe I can replace it. We'll have to figure that out. But mistakes happen. Mistakes were made. What do you do? Let me see if I can get you in there and show you how to take this apart. There's 2 ways. You can gut your glove box, which I don't want to because mine's the original style cardboard, really nice shape. And when you take them in and out, you crinkle the cardboard and they become junk. When I bought that replacement, because I remember putting it in, I know I replaced it. I bought the original style. They were $12 back then. I'll let you know what they are now. I haven't looked them up recently, but you can just assume it's 30. Well, I will get back to you on the glove box. If you take the glove box insert out, you can get to all the screws easy, but you're going to destroy it, or likely. There's other things you're going to destroy too. Okay, let me go over there and show you. Okay, folks, bear with me. This is a tough angle to get to, but I want to show you a few things. So it's going to be a lot of clips involved here. I'll cut the film and try and keep it as little jerky as possible. But we're taking out all this under the dash heater stuff. There's a classically broken flapper in there, and I have to remove it. Why? To fix that flapper. Other than that, it was fine. Kind of frustrating because inside, I'll show you in a second, but all that tubing, I'm going to work in now. All that tubing, I'll show you. You're going to rip it apart. It's like vacuum cleaner hose from the 1940s. And it's kind of pricey to replace. I'm sorry. I tried to save mine and I ripped it too. It is actually glued on the back of this, and that glue is somehow still sticky. And by the time you try to pry it off, you'll run your screwdriver through it a dozen times. So just suck it up, buy a new one. It's just part of the project. This one, I think, came loose, but we'll see how that goes. It's very brittle. Even when you retwist it, it cracks and rips. So there's that. I took this piece out. This is the first piece you'll remove down at the floor by the hump. It has a screw way back here, and I don't even remember anymore. I think that's the main one. Then there's screws that hold this box into this piece of plastic right here. And you'll see the screws. They all come out pretty much just hand tight, not a big deal. You have to remove the cable, which I didn't show you on this one, but it's the same as the next one I'll show you. That cable has a push-on retainer, and they are a pain in the butt. You can buy new ones, they're cheap, but more things to remember. I try not to ruin them. I did get this one off. We'll see if we get the next one off. Let me wiggle you in there. So we got the heater controls, just to give you a reference where I'm at. And after I removed the first bolt here to get that first part out I showed you, The next part, I ripped up my inner tube. There's the wiring for it. But the next problem I have is around behind the next part we're going to remove here is this switch. I know the lighting's terrible, but this switch I pulled right out. It goes inside of this mechanism here. There's a button up here that is activated by your heater controls. It turns on your air conditioner. If this switch is bad, your air conditioning won't work. Well, mine's bad now. I pulled the guts out because they have a good retainer on this plug. I might be able to fix it, but it's a very difficult place to get to replace it. So I might just buy a new one. We'll see as time goes on. But up here, if you can tell, I don't know, is that next cable with that retainer ring on it. And the retainer ring is that little circle right there, if you can see that. And that has to slide off the end so I can get the cable off of this. And the way I do that is with this pair of pliers. Now, I bought a pair of channel locks because they have really nice teeth inside of them, but you can buy whatever brand you want. And you basically grab a hold of that. Now, I am absolutely twisted around like a pretzel. And you wiggle that off of there. It will come off, believe me. The next thing is pulling this loose, and I believe this entire ducting is loose. It's just hooked up with those tubes, these things that you're going to ruin. So I'm going to wiggle that off, and I'll try and get you right back in here. I'm in the same location. There's that switch I ruined right there. This is the heater box that you see inside the truck. See, this is your glove box. This is a box that you see. Now, it always came, I've always seen them brown, but as you can see on the inside where the light hasn't got to it, they were black. So I will repaint this with some satin black when I'm done. So let's scratch it all up. We'll talk about that. But I'm trying to get this out. And I want you to know that the part that comes off before, I know this sounds confusing, but just bear with me. This is good information. These screws are basically finger tight. There's one in the front, one on the bottom, and one on top. There's none in the back, so you don't have to be frustrated with that. But if you don't take your glove box liner out, you got to get the one on top. And as you can see, you can't even get your finger in there. But if you get a ratcheting wrench, you can put it on there and ratchet that top nut. That's shiny, I'm sorry. Just enough to get it loose, and then you can wiggle your fingers in from this end and get it loose. So top, front, and bottom. Top one's going to be a little frustrating, but you can get it. I got mine out. All right, I'm going to work on this for a second. I'll bring you right back. All right, folks, I brought this over to the table. It's just so hard under the dash, but I wanted to give you the viewpoints of what's going on with all this. This is the way it would basically appear in your truck. You're only going to see it from about here down. So you're only looking at the bottom part. And there's been an ugly repair here. But here's what we got. This is your first cable that comes in. I should have grabbed that cap. But that cable right there is the first one you're going to take off. And when you remove it, you're going to have this little, I should have grabbed it with some needle nose. The cable slides onto this flapper, and then this spring retainer just goes on top. It's a one-time use, but you can use it more than once. But they just push on and grab. I'll try to get you a close up. I about dropped it with my fingers. But this is what you're looking at. Try and get you on something white background. There you go. I can't turn it sideways. Hard to see. It's just a cap. And there's a bunch of little cuts in it. So it's spring loaded, so to speak. I'm going to try and zoom in a little more. But if you just wiggle these back and forth with a pair of nice tiny little channel locks or something, you can wiggle them off. But there's that anyway. Let's not carry on. So I know I have a bad flapper in here. At least that's what I've been told. The air doesn't seem to work right in the truck. All my tubing was attached properly and in great shape. It's all the original that I won't be able to say again because I've destroyed it. Yep, that was a loss. I didn't, whatever. I might have enough that I can splice a small piece of new that resembles this. I may even have some scraps of the old stuff from another truck. You guys probably won't run into that, but when you destroy one end of it, the rest of it's kind of good still. It's as long as you're not bending on it. So I save them for things like this so I could splice two together, still have the original stuff, but yeah, it'll be a splice. Anyhow, this is a large bolt that holds this in the truck. That's the only one holding this end to the truck. You have a screw here, and there's one on the bottom, and this will come apart. It's just the two. And you can pull this off. But remember, you're going to have to, here's some of the glue that GM used on there, and it gets hard and crusty, and it's just, believe me, these things are brittle. But you'll remove this and check this flap. Are you with me? This determines, and I don't know where each of these go. I guess I learn and then I forget because I don't care. One's probably the defrost, and I know one's the side. I don't know why I'm guessing. So I know this is the floor. So when you adjust your controller, this will go all the way up and give you heat to the floor only, or air conditioning, whichever. We're going to talk heat. If you pull it halfway, then you see you get heat to all of the tubing. And if you go all the way this way, it blocks that off, and you get only heat to these two tubings, which I think are the dash. But this one's in proper working order. It's a little stiff, but it works. I'll lube it all up and clean that garbage out of there from 58 years of blowing garbage through it. Probably give her a paint job because that's that's who I am. So there's that part. The next part is really just an S curve filler, and it has a bolt on top, the side, and one on the bottom. Those are your three screws, but nothing in the back. So you can pull this loose. Now this is cracked here, and it's got a broken repair there, and it doesn't fit very good on here. So if this isn't terribly expensive, I'll buy a new one. Again, 20 bucks or less. We'll look at that. Now to the good stuff. Yeah, I ruined that. I know that bothers me. I need to just get over it. But this is that air conditioning starter that I ruined. I said starter, whatever. This switch runs off your air conditioning switch in the truck. And when you push it down, it's supposed to connect those two. It doesn't work great, but it does work. I pulled it all out. I believe inside of there, all this does is push these two connectors together and makes that connection. Looking in there, I don't see anything going on. It's just a button in there. But I can put this back in, lining up these tabs, and that spring's still in there. So there's some hole. Put this back together. I don't believe it matters which way because it's round in there. So I'll attempt to get this pushed back in and rebend them little tabs over. And then I'll test the switch with a multimeter. Maybe I'll bring you back for that. The main reason I did all this, and the reason I think you would do all this, isn't just to clean it, inspect it, look at it, because you're going to break stuff, something. I broke plenty. But here's the win. We'll flip this around for you, and this is what you really need to know about these. This is the classic flapper that breaks. I shouldn't say breaks. It's got a rubber seal all the way around it. It's pretty fancy. And when it closes, it directs all the energy, all the wind power, all the CFMs to this portion of the adjuster, your feet and all that stuff. If you come back around to this side, when you open this flapper, and get it open, you see you can get all kinds of variations. And inside of here is some fancy duckery, because this is the ductwork. Well, this flapper can open part way, and you can see it diverts in ways that they wanted it to divert because they know something we don't. I think it has something to do with some resistance one way to the other to put more air where it belongs. But rather than to get into that, this rubber is very supple. It's in good shape. There's nothing wrong with the flapper except it doesn't work. You see, it don't do its flapper business, and it appears that it's actually broke. I was always told that this rod slips inside of the plastic, but if you can see in there, I don't think you can. All the way to the back of this thing, you're just not going to see it. The only thing holding it in there is this rubber. The plastic appears to have broken. I wish I could get you a better route, but I'm going to have to take it apart and figure out how to get this flapper to work again. Maybe you can see a little there. The back is moving, but the flapper's not. I mean, you get my point. This has got to be fixed somehow. I'm going to try to drive this rod out and figure out how to fix this flapper. This is very important. You can buy a new one of these. There's guys you can mail them to that fix them. it's expensive anyway around it. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do it in our shops without spending a huge amount of money. See, somebody's had this apart. Even the seal is twisted in there. So I got some work to do to get things back where they belong. But a few other things I want to mention and show you. All right, folks, I know we've been dealing with seats. This is a 1968 C10 in bright white. Seats. I know everybody has issues with seats, or most everybody. The problem with seats are you either get the original frames and buy the very expensive foam, and then a seat cover that used to be reasonable, they're now getting expensive. By the time you rebuild if you have just a frame of an original bench seat, they fit the best because GM knew their issues with the cab size and they built the seats to fit. I haven't found a seat that's really even close yet. They're going to be narrow because these old trucks were wider than you think, which that's fine. Then you got to realize where to put it if it's narrow. You want the driver to sit right behind the steering wheel. Otherwise, you feel kind of wonky. So, we've tried several seats. I tried another set this weekend. Tom brought them over. We threw them in. They're way better, but they're not great. Buick Century seats will work. They fit pretty decent. Now, you're going to have to make a different mounting because the floor humps are different than the Buick Century. The passenger fit ideally. It had plenty of room. It was very comfortable. We were excited about it until we got the driver's seat in. I'll have Jeff put up a picture over here in this area. I think there's two pictures. This is what we came up with. This is how we sat in there. It wasn't that comfortable. The driver was just cramped too much. The driver has to be comfortable. And there's always a driver, not always a passenger. So it's something that would work if you had a set or you knew you could get them and you were on a tight budget. That would be a doable option, the Buick Century seats. Now, the Centuries, they haven't made those for a while, so just any of those later model ones have the same seats in them. But it's not our answer to the seats yet. I will do a video just on the seats when they get done because the ones you've seen there just aren't quite right. So I wanted to touch on that and tell you that I haven't given up yet. Tom has a connection now with a guy who scraps cars, so we're going to try maybe Colorado truck seats. Anyway, whatever he can come up with from that junk guy who's scrapping, we'll just run them in here and test them. I probably won't show you every one, but only the good ones. And the final answer, excuse me, I get excited when we figure them out. So there's the issue with the seats. Okay, let's wrap things up on this heater box issue. I fixed the switch by just pushing the guts back in and bending over those little tiny tabs, if you can see them there. Use a pair of pliers. I come in this side and just pinch them down. It works. It's, like I said, it's a little old and kind of sticky. I probably should have cleaned it really good and used some dielectric or something in there, but I don't know. There's arguments about that. I put it back the way I found it. It does work. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's the flapper I finally got out of this box. Yeah, that wasn't fun. And it wasn't easy. And it's broke. So here's the rubber part. Oh, excuse me. Here's the rubber part that goes up on here. I pulled it away because this is the plastic. You can see all my pieces right here. It just brittle, broke into a lot of pieces. I don't know if you can buy this new flapper door. If you can, I'll get one. Otherwise, I'm going to have to figure out a way to reconstruct this. It has to have a hole in it for the rod to go through. So that's complicated. I'll get back with you on that when I figure out what I'm doing. All right, here we're getting back to the basics. We're going to deal with grounding today. So I grabbed these ground straps just to kind of give you an idea what I use, and I'll show you what GM used. But here we just have solid copper wire. You can buy those most anywhere. They just have eyelets on both ends. That works, very flexible. I've done it before. Those last a long time, but these last a lot longer. Excuse me. They're very flexible. You can move them wherever you want. There's a lot of braiding, so there's a lot of grounding can be done through these. They're high capacity. This is the size GM generally uses. Well, the next size is smaller and the next size is larger. So I get these. They're very useful. Now we'll go over a few places on the truck that you have them and where they're important. Okay, folks, on the truck, there's a few there's a few of them around, and they're all important, let's be honest. So the main ground wire that goes to the battery comes right up here and goes to the front of the passenger side head. That's the large cable. That's your main ground that deals with starter and, well, most everything. So there you go, heavy ground. The one that comes off of this battery cable, you should buy the cable that has this tail end. It's very important. I don't know what size it is. I don't think they mark it, but I've looked this up before. I think it's 10. Don't quote me. It might be a 12. This is your main, directly from the battery to the inside of the fender on the passenger side. That's a very important ground to have. That's a body ground, but that's a heavy duty, important one. The next one is this little one down here. Again, this is that braided copper material. It's very flexible. This goes from the frame where you can't see it because of the hose to your inside fender. You may have noticed in the past that I put a heavy strap, I had my own, from the frame to the block. I may not on this one, and I'll explain why later, but each vehicle, depending on how you wire them, can be different, but this is the GM original way. The next ground wire to be concerned with is this one back here. It's at the back of the head, the same bolt hole as you have in the front. There's one in the back, and that one goes right to the firewall. I have seen this one come loose and not be an issue, and then there's been times where I had issues and connected it, and this fixed it. So again, there might be other grounding issues, but this one's fairly imperative in my opinion. These little ones that you see around like this one, that is a specific item that goes to my choke control. I'm not going to cover all those today. They are grounds all over the vehicle. I'm just doing the main grounds today. So the one on the frame, the one on the inside fender, this one goes to the fender, that one goes to the inner fender, this one goes to the firewall and the head. The next one you can't see. I'm going to lift the camera up, so bear with me. I'll show you a few angles if I can. This one up here is behind the carburetor. This is the original bolt right there that they connect. This is a heavier one, so I assume GM thinks it's imperative or important. It runs around and goes right to the firewall right there. Oops, sorry, you can't see. Up in there. So again, firewall, but this one goes to intake manifold. That's an important one. Now, one is not quite as important, but I think you should do. I can't really get you down there, and there's no sense in it. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. If you look, I'll get you down a little bit. I'm going to use my pointer. I'm going to climb down there. You're not going to see on camera exactly where, but you're going to see when you get down there. It's right where I told you. So this body mount that goes to the cab, on the back side of that, which again, I'm not going to flip you all the way around, but on the back side of that is a small braided line that goes from the body to the frame, from the cab mount. Now, some of you are probably asking, okay, he's going to go to the back now, but I'm not going to. And here's the reason being. What GM had done, and I'm okay with it, but I like having plenty of ground. They have grounded basically the fender, inner fender, outer fender on this side, and that connects to the frame and a bunch of things. So they probably figured that was enough. I don't think there's one on the other side, but later on I might get to it because that one's only a headlight ground over there, I believe. Of course, headlight brown here, but between this frame to body, between the battery to body, this through the passenger side head to body, and the intake to body, you've pretty much grounded everything in this area. You have your cab grounded on both sides of the motor. So those two grounds should hold anything you really need. But the third one underneath here from the frame to the cab. So you in essence have three major grounding to the cab. So the cab should be grounded all you need. But check each of those if you have a problem. Generally, when there's an intermittent problem, is when you consider it being, might be a ground. Intermittent trouble is because grounds jiggle around and do different things. Power wise can do it, but mostly grounds. So if you have something, for instance, like your blower motor or your wipers work intermittently, it just may be. 60% of the time. So it's not a guarantee. It's a ground. And that's because grounding can work really well with very little connection. Just how grounding works. Positive wires don't seem to do it quite so often. I think because the arcing, but nonetheless, we won't get into why. But the cab has those three major ground areas that'll take care of most everything you need. Your lights all have grounding in between. The box is not grounded with any wires or braiding because the bolts that go through the box go directly to the frame, and the box has no rubber mounting between it and the frame. Now, when I redo the box on these trucks, I always put a little rubber, real thin, heavy duty rubber between them because I worry about squeaks and rattles. They weren't so worried about it back in the day. That can cause a grounding issue. Likely won't, but just in case, I always put an extra strap, just like the one to the cab to the frame. I'll put one from the cab to the box. The lights are grounded separately, so it's probably not an issue. It's just I like to have everything grounded. Those are the issues I found in the past that really bug me. So that's your best. Back to the basics on grounding. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to talk you through them. But like I said, each item in these cars has its own ground. That's just how they did it back in the day. So the blower motor has its own ground to body, and the air conditioner, I believe, has a ground to the inner part of the body underneath the dash, and the wipers, I believe, as well. I haven't monkeyed with them much, but I'm going to be looking into the wipers soon for a viewer, and maybe we'll cover that some more. So you got the basics of what's going on today. You got to see what I was doing. I've got a lot going on this week with this stuff. I'm going to spin you around again. We covered a lot of teardown. I think we're done with teardown. From this point forward, we'll be painting, but painting and coating things and putting them back together. Getting this rod back onto this flopper. It's a flapper. I don't know, call it what you want. Blend door. It's going to be my next big issue. We got to get that fixed and put back in so we can get the air conditioner, get the body going on the 72. The 68, I just got to do some painting. I'll blend that into the videos here and there. This button did work. I kind of showed you, but my sound quit on that. But again, if it's super cheap, I don't know. I might buy one, I might not. We'll talk more about that later. But as for now, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I got to go.